Welcome back to A Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel,
I'm a Don.
and this is our DC-ness review of The Batman.
Wah, 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 wah.
Spoilers, you've been warned. The reason why I said it like that was because do you remember the animation show on WB before it became CW that had a show called The Batman?
Yeah. And you love that show. I got into
I
it
actually
later on in
did.
years.
I did, and especially like season 5 when they started bringing in like other heroes like from the Justice League, and I also liked it because the costume and the way the cowl fit on him reminded me of the old show Battle of the Planets, or AKA G-Force.
I
So
get
that's where
that.
I got the kick. So that's where I got a kick out of that, and maybe that was like that. Battle of the Planets was the influence for his cowl and
Partly, I
fit.
thought it was like the styling of it. It was like his early style.
That show, yeah, it was like him getting more seasoned and stuff like that, which will lead into this one. Just like that show where we see him learning to adapt. Well, he's been a little, he's been like year 1, year 2, or 3 possibly in that show. Here, this is actually his second year as Batman.
They say that.
You have the clues, you have the signs, they even talk about it. Gordon is not a commissioner yet. He's still on the force in the sense of he's a detective, Gordon. You have a lot of early for Batman and Gordon, but also the Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of his origin story as well. He's a henchman, pretty much.
It's the origin story to a lot of villains, actually, when you think about it. Because there's Penguin, like you mentioned. Everybody knows about Riddler. That's literally in the trailer. There's Catwoman.
He's already is Catwoman. There wasn't an event that made her become Catwoman that we don't know. We don't see it there. It happened prior. And same thing here. Prior, we don't see Batman, what he went through. Thank God. I was so happy there was no flashback of the alley scene yet again. But before we go into that, real quick, I only saw one trailer, maybe a teaser before that trailer of the Batman, because I didn't want to see any trailers or any new material. I want to be shocked. I think you were the same way, right?
I tried to avoid as many trailers as possible. I did see a secondary trailer. So I saw the original teaser, and then I saw the trailer, the full trailer that came out after that. And I think that's it. I think I kept it down just those two. So I knew about the original teaser, which is in black and red, where they show him in the outfit. And you get the music, which we hear in the actual movie, which I always love when we hear the music in a trailer or a teaser, and it's actually using the music because it's usually pretty good. But in the trailer I saw, clearly I could tell it was either Riddler or Hush.
Which they mentioned at one point of Hush.
Yes.
I forgot where they placed it, but I was like, oh, that's from the book.
It was when we were talking about the Waynes. The Riddler was giving the clues about the Waynes, and it was they used the word hush.
And it looked like the same font too.
It was. And like to everybody who doesn't know, like in the comics, there was a storyline called Hush, and that introduced a new villain, which was a very pivotal villain and a scary character, not just for Batman, but for like Nightwing and other characters too.
And they did a animated version of that, which was such a letdown.
True, because but oddly enough, it was foreshadowing of what this movie was going to be, because in the animated movie, Hush turned out to be Riddler. So it was kind of like reversed order. They just used the outfit that they did in the animated movie, and they just said that's the Riddler the entire time.
And plus also like where he bandaged the first victim, almost similar to Hush, because his face was bandaged up, but not with tape, over like medical gauze. Originally, were you excited for this? Or were you like, oh, another Batman movie?
So the funny thing was I was growing in excitement for it. When I first heard about it, and especially with Robert Pattinson, I was not excited. I was more disappointed with that choice and the ideas behind it. And then when I saw that first teaser, I had to say, well, damn, he has the jawline for Batman. So I gave him credit for that. And then I remember a lot of people were giving him a hard time because of his physique. And I said, you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't think his physique was good, but when you see Batman, you're not seeing his natural physique. You're seeing the man in the armor, and that's what's portrayed. And you know what? I would have given him that. I don't need to see another like comic book hero with their shirt off every single movie.
Even though we did get that here.
Yeah, mostly his back. And actually, I'm going to say that works for me. He still looks small framed, but you see
Right.
scars and you see wounds and
Mhm.
injuries.
You see a story.
Yeah, and then, like, you see his chest,
Story.
and his chest still looks a little bit flat. I'm sorry, it's true for you ladies, but, like, at one of those, I gave him credit because one of the scars on his chest looks like he had, like, either, like, a torn pec or, like, a injury that looked indented. I'm like, "Oh, his chest works." It works for the
Yeah.
injuries, but it grew on
For
me.
me, I was very unexcited for this,
So you were the
especially
same way
when
as me.
yeah, and a lot of people because of Robert Pattinson, yes, I know he's a seasoned actor, and I know he has done some great roles and great parts, but I was thinking Twilight, which a lot of people were doing,
We
thinking Twilight.
typecasted him.
But he's been in amazing independent films. He did one with Christopher Nolan, and if Christopher Nolan picked him for a role, you know he has the chops to do that
Yeah,
role. And then I saw the trailer. DC had the fandom celebration and showed the trailer for it.
that was the one.
I got excited because I was talking crap about him. I was talking crap about the Batmobile. I was talking crap about him or his stuntman falling off his bike
Mhm.
on one of the rides, which was going really slow. So I was like, come on, looks like crap. And then recently, I don't know why it took me so long to make the connections or know this, that Matt Reeves, the one who's behind Batman, the director, and who also co-wrote, he did the sequels for Planet of the Apes. And I love those sequels. Those sequels are freaking amazing. The story, the action, the pace, I found riveting. Put that together, that's the same Matt Reeves as doing the Batman. I even got more excited. I was like, okay, now I want to know how they're going to do this. What's their take? What's going to be different? What's going to be refreshing? After seeing it, I think there's a home run in that aspect that it was a different take of the Dark Knight.
Well, and that was the thing, like, after that trailer, there was a couple of people I heard it from, and then got confirmation online. That was the Matt Reeves direction, and, like, he wanted a different take, and his specific words at that, presentation was, "This is gonna be a detective movie."
It's a film noir. It had the influence of Seven. It had the influence of Saw. It had the influence of Batman Year One. I
He
want to say,
and I wanna say he quoted Year One. There was a lot of different elements.
I think Long Halloween 2 was also another influence.
I mean, I could be wrong, but, my memory goes more to the animated movies because we recently
Mhm,
watched those.
mhm.
100% The Long Halloween, that ties into it. I'll
Year
go
One, because
year 1 or year 3 had Robin.
well, Year One had the thing where Selena Kyle
Okay.
and she's watching over someone.
Mhm.
Granted, this one was like around the same age. Like they're around the same age where in the comic book and animation, she was watching over a little girl, an orphan.
Okay.
And
So that
and
makes
she was in
sense.
the slums. She had cats all over the place. Gordon was still
He's not
a
commissioner.
cop. He's
Yeah.
not the yeah, he's not a commissioner yet. He's like he just arrived there in Year One. So it was like both him and Batman really starting out. And I like that here in a sense of Gordon
Gordon.
and Batman that they started an early relationship, which we saw that in Year One, the animation and the comic book. And even though he's a vigilante, Batman in this was more like a consultant in a way of trying to help. Okay, to jump the gun, that kid,
Yeah, he came across the father's body.
I could not help but feel that he's going to be a Robin if they do another sequel or what have you. I don't know that I had that vibe because that's how in the comics Bruce got Dick Grayson, even though it was not Dick Grayson, this character's kid, but he saw himself in the kid.
I don't think the kid's gonna be a Robin because the Robin wasn't from a wealthy family. Maybe a Robin-like character if they do introduce that child, but the kid is not an orphan. His mother's still alive.
I know that, but it could be like a Tim Drake
Maybe.
who was well off, but he still became Robin later down the line. And speaking of that, the young kid thug that was in the makeup, that was half on the train, who didn't want to fight,
Yeah.
he's actually Tim Drake in the Titan series. And you know how I feel about typecasting, recycling actors. And then at the end, I'm fast forwarding, the Riddler's jailmate, if you will, is none other than Druig of Eternals, Barry Gilgan. Come on, there has to be other actors out there that are very well talented that can do the part. They just keep recycling the freaking thing. Gosh, it's like this is a small pond when we know there's an ocean full of talent.
This is
But
true.
should we say right now who that is, or should we? Well, who do you think it is?
Originally, when I saw the outlines of his face, I thought it was Two Face.
Me too. Then
Yeah.
his laugh,
Then he
and
starts
Two
to
Face
laugh,
don't
and when
laugh.
he gives that line about like the riddle, I was like, no, that's definitely has to be Joker.
Or he also says clown. I was like, well, who would say that?
Hmm.
Plus, if you're going to be true to Two-Face, you need something for Two-Face to work with, and that's with the word two, a coin, something to that effect. Comes in twos, and he wasn't talking about that. Unless at the end it's just him and the Riddler, then that could be the two, the pair. Yes, I also think it is the Joker. So, yeah, we just jumped all the way to the end. The reason why I did like this a lot, we're seeing Bruce, Batman, still trying to figure things out. We even hear it from the beginning of the narration, what he thought, how he should be perceived. And then he later learns what he needs to be. He thought he had to be fearful or be a sign of fear. And he comes to find out it had to be something bigger, better, sign of hope.
Oh, that's pretty much taken from his early years. Like back in the day when the original Batman version was done, his character was more dark, more bat-like, and then at one point he changed to be like more of a blue outfit and like more humanoid in his style of costume. At least they did this in the one of the animated movies where they rationalized it after a child he was trying to save was more afraid of him than like being burned in a fire. So he realized he's like, I should only make the villains fear me or the criminals fear me, not everyone fear me.
I did like that when the beginning where people see the bat sign or the bat signal and something of theirs falls into a dark shadow and they freak out and they, instead of getting it, maybe that spray can, they run in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And then we see him come to someone's defense coming out of a dark alley or a shadow. And you just hear the footsteps, kind of almost like the Jaws theme or the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, where you know it's coming. This could be taken or broken down in so many different ways. Besides other movies that was influenced by, like we said, Saw, Seven, Batman Year One, the story and the animation, and Long Halloween, you could also see that there were some things still also influenced the Court of Owls, which I thought they were going to have a bigger role in.
I honestly would have thought that would have been too soon if they did.
But you can see in the costume that in the Court of Owls, like in the animation and the comic books, they have arrows on the gauntlet. And we saw that with Batman. He had that on his gauntlet. I don't think we saw him use that.
I didn't think that was arrows. I thought that was like bars that he used because he uses the gauntlet
to protect.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought there were like mini spears or what have you. But did you notice his grappling gun?
Well,
his grappling gun,
but yeah.
But the one for him to climb and stuff, that was very reminiscent to Tim Burton's Batman. The shape of it was smaller. It was like on his forearm, his inner forearm, instead of on the utility belt. But the shape of it was almost exact to Tim Burton's Batman. So,
I couldn't say yes or nay to that one because I would have to rewatch it.
And I'm going to rewatch it next week.
I'm probably going to rewatch it again, but for everybody who hasn't seen it yet, that's a 3-hour-long movie, and not including the trailers.
We came in late, thank God.
I came in also 10 minutes late and still took 20 minutes to get to the movie.
Well, how about this? There was one trailer, I have no idea. There was people in the snow. I don't know what it was. But then they showed Super Pets.
I missed that one.
Oh my God, it was so good because they have Batman talking to Ace and they're having a conversation and they're doing the same thing, like, I'm from the night, blah, blah, blah. Ace is kind of doing it too. And they're like, oh, screw it. And they start like rolling around on the ground. Ace is licking him, giving him kisses. But I was like, who is this Batman? He sounds so familiar. I was like, oh my God, that's Keanu Reeves in Super Pets.
That's hilarious.
I think it's great. And they do a lot of tribute to the Danny Elfman music. There's about maybe 6 action scenes. And for a 3-hour movie, they're spread out so far apart that you're not over saturated with it. And when it happens, it's good. But for me, it wasn't the action, even though it was appreciated. It was the talent, the acting. You have Colin Farrell, who killed it as the Penguin.
I was very impressed by the Penguin performance.
The way he walked, when he was in handcuffs, you saw him walking more like a penguin, but he also had that walk when he was free roaming. He was just walking. He had that waddle. His accent, he made him a thug. It says he made him like an Italian thug, where we seen it in the Arkham video games. He's an Irish thug, an English thug.
He's not like your Adam West Penguin where he's like, not like that. He's like an actual guy. Think of, I was never a fan of the show, but I gotta give him credit where credit's due. Like the Penguin from Gotham. He was a guy who was handicapped a certain way. He had injuries and whatnot. He had some penguin-like imagery on
Right.
his vicious on his body. People just slapped him with that nickname, and they even homage that at one particular scene where the character's like, "You're just a guy who's like will never be more than a penguin because that's literally what you look like, and,
Mhm.
and you're just a common thug." He's like, you could see like, no, he wants to be more than that.
Where Danny DeVito in the Burton's Batman, he looks physically like a penguin.
Literally, he looks like a penguin turned human, Danny DeVito.
Right.
Which I loved his
But
character,
oh,
but
me too. I think it
it,
is great.
it was definitely a far reach in comparison to being more human. His character wasn't mutated, right?
Prior to this, we had the 60s version TV show Batman, starting with Adam West and Burt Ward. 2 decades later, you have Michael Keaton and Tim Burton's rendition, which I absolutely love. It showed us that he can be a little dark, not so hey chum. Then Schumacher came along and made it very unpleasant. Christopher Nolan showed us that you can have a really great story told in 3 films, where here is more like a prequel to all that because we don't really see Bruce Wayne learning still or Batman still learning while when he's made that commitment. We saw that a little bit with the Nolan trilogy, but it was like quick. You see him, he makes mistakes here. He gets hit several times, like thank God for his armor. He doesn't really move out of the way or be elusive as we've come to seen him in the comics and the cartoons and the other movies.
He's like the superhero version of James Bond. Like when we first got Casino Royale with Daniel Craig, and he was your James Bond that will get injured, bloody, hurt. And then by the last James, like as his character portrayed, he became more and more accustomed to like what the James Bond everybody knew was like a train could blow up behind him and he falls off and lands. And there's only dust on his tuxedo, and he's still good to go. We're at that early stage.
Also here, Robertson's take on Batman and on Bruce Wayne is pretty damn phenomenal. You see him still like trying to figure things out. You say when he walks into the room, he doesn't rush.
Yeah.
What he's doing is he's collecting data. He's listening. He's observing. He has that mechanical eye to film everything so he can look at it again later. But he reads the room. He's not quick to talk. He only says something when it needs to be said.
Well, let's focus on that real quick because that was the one thing I loved about this portrayal is that every other Batman that we ever get is pretty much like, yeah, they'll get a situation. This is the new criminal. And then they'll run it by the computer or they'll run it by Alfred and they'll figure out we need to go here and do this. Here, there's actual mystery in the sense like we, the fans, kind of put pieces together, but you can see he's struggling. Like he has to take a daily log, daily notes, and re-go over his items and re-go over everything, use his resources, and he's actually investigating a little bit and using people. That's what Batman does. He uses informants and other items to get more intel. Some of those things lead down paths where he's like, I think I have the answer, but he doesn't. Like when La Rata.
Oh yeah, and then and the penguin helps him out with the whole. You don't know Spanish?
It's like it's like
I have two detectives.
And it's like even I know Spanish.
And then he figures out URL. I was like, okay. He's intelligent. There is no doubt about it. He's good at puzzles and riddles, and also can figure things out. But you have the aid of Alfred.
Yep.
Even though Alfred doesn't want to help him, he does help him. Even though he's worried, he'll still do stuff on the side because he was helping him decipher the code. Real quick with Alfred, I love the way that you see him walking with a limp, with a cane. There's history there.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of us know that Alfred's history is that he was in the military, and that could be a great homage to an injury.
There's 2 points of reference because like it's not sugarcoated that even Wayne calls him out. He's like, "You're not my daddy." But then there's another point. He's like, where Alfred tells him, he's like, "Listen, like you lost your father, and I was there to protect him, and I couldn't, and I didn't know how to be a father, and you needed a father. All I could do was teach you how to fight. All I could do was teach you how to hurt others, and I couldn't be a father for you." And you could see like, and that was a great scene, by the way. Like he was like holding back tears, basically explain the level of guilt he has for how he's raised.
Right,
because he provided him a way to protect himself, but at the same time, never gave him a reason why not to put himself in danger.
Well, he looked in the way he approached this since what happened to his parents. He's like, let me train you this way for I can protect you if it wasn't doesn't happen to him. Great take on the mother. Great take
Ooh,
on the
yeah,
mother.
that was new to me.
Yes, another mention to that lore. Also, Star Wars was an influence here.
There wasn't
There
I
was no,
am your
there's no.
father.
Yes, that's the part. That's what I'm talking about. I am your father.
Oh, with Falcone?
Well, not with Falcone, but with him, but not exactly in the sense of
You
when
take that
Selena Kyle
reference
said it.
and flip it. Flip the reference. Yeah.
Selena Kyle's did it. The room kind of laughed. They're like, "What?"
Well, my audience was
And
dead silent. Like
oh, really?
there
Oh
was
my
kids
god!
in the audience, and everybody was just focused on the movie so hard. Even the kids were quiet for
That's
3 hours of having a
Yeah.
quiet child. And I can tell you, there were children in that audience.
The only one that clapped when the Joker showed up.
No,
I was like, what? Again, the acting, the Riddler.
yeah, the guy who portrayed him loved him.
He's been a great movie. He's been in a movie.
He does a lot of
Can't remember the
comedy.
name right.
That guy?
I don't think so. I think you got it confused with someone else.
Maybe I do. But I'm
Yes,
quite
because
sure.
he did a movie. I can't remember the name right now, but he did a movie with Daniel Day Lewis with the oil.
I mean, well, he was in that movie. There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one with Daniel Day Lewis.
But he was
Right.
also in. It was like a drier comedy, Little Miss Sunshine.
He's good at playing awkward characters.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm thinking of someone else.
I think I know who you're talking about.
But he's a good performer, though.
No,
I
he was
definitely
awesome.
is.
Because I don't remember the Riddler being a killer. And
The Riddler is always been a killer. It's just that like he always gets overshadowed as a killer.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I just remember him just in love with riddles and trying to, like how like the Joker wants to crack the Batman, and where the Riddler wants to challenge the intellect of the Batman.
Correct.
And we're doing that here, but it wasn't that goofy things that we've seen in the Adam West series or the Jim Carrey version. Here it was a mixture of the Riddler and the Joker in that sense of like causing havoc and chaos, which he does. He does cause chaos at the end with the explosions, something that Christopher Nolan Joker would have done with setting bombs and trying to drown the city.
Here's why I think about it. The Riddler gets overshadowed a lot in a lot of different franchises and a lot of different iterations. Like the one version of the Riddler that always sticks to mind of like his potential of how dangerous he could be was in the storyline of Jokes and Riddles. Because that was basically a gang war between him and Joker. And in that storyline, it is like, who will outdo the most? And it was basically a war to gain the right of who would kill Batman. And like literally it was like no one was untouchable in that storyline. And it was set in the early stage of Batman's career. And like when they retell that story of War Jokes and Riddles is done as a flashback. Like he's telling a story of like one of his Batman's shameful moments, and he builds up to that storyline. I personally think, and I think they're turning this into a trilogy.
Really?
I don't know, because they said the sequel won't have Joker.
If this was one and done, I would have been happy with it.
No, I would be happy with it too if it was one and done. But if they turn it, listen, it's gonna make money, and the likelihood of them doing a sequel is up there. You know, rule of three in Hollywood. If the sequel is gonna make money, they're probably gonna do a third one. If they do a third one and they don't do a Joker on the second one, maybe they'll do a third one with Joker as a War Jokes and Riddles. But everybody knows how dangerous by nature the Joker is. So they don't really need a movie to focus on that. What they would need is something to explain why the Riddler is so dangerous.
Say that Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I could see that being in this world, having a Joker. Remember that the comic book, there's the Tales of Three Jokers, right? Yeah. There's three Jokers. And Joaquin Phoenix is one where he's thinking certain things.
So you're like tying all three, those two movies together?
Well, that one and this one, then you have the other Joker in the jail cell. So that could be a different variation of the Joker or a different incarnation like they do in the comics. And there could be another one where, again, Joaquin Phoenix, however you look at it, he could actually have done it, or it could have been his imagination of how he would have done his Joker or how his creation of the Joker would have been.
I mean, when you think about it, it kind of goes with the sense of like, you have that street gang like you were talking about, which everybody thought those were the Jokers as the street gang.
But it was either the Joker or the Anarchies.
And so it could work in that if you're trying to merge all three storylines. But I think a lot of people consider those as a Elseworld story.
But again, like I said, if they did put together, granted, the timelines are different, the Alfreds are different. Bruce was a lot younger, and his father wasn't what they were doing here in the sense where the father in this world was running for mayor, where the other ones was, philanthropist, scientist, and giving back to the world, but not in political way. There is so much to go through, but you have a scene where you're like, damn, got it, or that's on the money. Not necessarily action.
Let's have you do yours first because
Okay.
I'm getting stuck on mine.
For me, was the funeral.
Okay,
The funeral scene.
I can see the funeral.
Is because, again, this is year 2. He's still fresh. He's not that billionaire playboy that we come to learn. Even though he's Bruce Wayne, he is still Batman. He is walking slow. We see him. He's absorbing information. He's listening. He's watching people. He's doing all these things just to get intel. So you see that where if someone's paying attention, they can see the two.
Mm-hmm.
Is one where later down the line he may separate, because remember Bruce was like still in mourning, he's still like depressed, he's still focused on taking down criminals. He doesn't care about his looks, his hair is sloppy. And my other scene I like is when he and the Riddler finally confront each other, and you see him cowering. Batman's cowering in the shadows, trying to get into the wall, even trying to see if he can get further away, because he feels that the Riddler knows who he is. And then when he figures out that Riddler does not have a clue who he is, you see him moving towards him out of the shadow to confront him. And like that, he even called it. He's at the end of the Batman.
Because that's what he suspected.
Then he finds out, oh, no one knows still. That was a hot scene. Did you figure out yours?
3 different scenes laid up when he's taking notes, journaling, and goes into the narrative, which we weren't getting like it was the narrative at the beginning, and then it goes into the journal, and you see his back, and you see Alfred. That interaction right there, that is Batman to me. Batman is not necessarily the guy in the cape. Batman is the guy who is in the cape and who refuses to be the rich dude. He's like, I'm just sitting here. I'm going to keep doing the logs. I'm going to forego sleep. Even like Alfred's like, there's some berries there to eat. Because Batman's not going to be like, I need a pancake breakfast. He's going to be like, I'm going to get the maximum amount of nutrition for the littlest thing possible, because that's all I need. Mm-hmm. So that little moment there was what got me.
I'm sorry, the real quick, the Riddler even talks about that. And it's not the first time that's been brought up in the sense of the mask is the true self.
Well, yeah, that was done like with Heath Ledger.
But not just that, was also in the first Batman film with Nolan, where Rachel tells him, as Bruce, this is your mask. As Batman, that's his true self. And Bruce Wayne is that mask.
I mean, they've always made jokes about that, even in like cartoons. Like there was like a villain character talking to him in his mind, and in the cartoon, they're like, "It's like, how did you know it wasn't real?" It's like they referred to me as Bruce Wayne, or they referred to me as Bruce, and it took a second, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you don't call yourself Batman in your own mind, do you?" And he doesn't respond. So like, yeah, there. That's always an ongoing joke.
All right, so that's okay. That's your one. You said you have 2 more.
Yes. So my second, I kind of called it out earlier. I love the fact that he used Selina Kyle to get more information. When he broke into the Iceberg Lounge, he faced off the twins. And then he's like going through everybody. He's just walking in like the Terminator. He's like, you know who I am? And they're like, yeah, so. And then he just goes right through the door with everybody in there, just to get a spot with the Penguin. And then he's analyzing as he's talking to the Penguin. He's trying to get information from Penguin, spots Selina, tracks her from there, recognizes that she's a suspect. That was a Batman moment for me. Batman looks for suspects in the situation. The third one, funny enough, was at the end of the movie, was when they were fighting all the Hush Riddlers, I want to call them. And like he's dangling and he explodes the extinguisher. I'm like, oh, they brought back the Batman Vanish. You're like, that's where he gets the spider to do where he does the smoke bombs.
That was a really good scene overall.
No, it was like a fantastic scene overall. For me, that was like, that's where he learns it from. He learned to do the smoke bomb from that moment. He's like, this is a great distraction. And I'm like, that makes sense. I mean, that's a great call out to use. And then leads into other great moments. But I was like, for me, that was just something that stuck out. And I was like, hey, yeah. So there was a lot of great moments overall, and much more that I could call out. Like, and I'm sure you probably love this. And I held off of it because I didn't want to be cliche because we saw it in the trailer. that Batmobile. At first, I hated it when I first found out
Me
about it,
too.
but when
Yeah,
I
me too.
saw it in the film,
Me too.
I was like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
that's a
Well,
Batmobile.
that action scene with him and the penguin, well, that's one of the best action sines of the film.
It was a fantastic
My
action scene.
It was a armored truck in the shape of a car.
Basically,
It didn't get dented. It didn't
you took was it the Chevy
armored
from
tank.
Fat?
Excuse me.
You take the Chevy from Fast and Furious, and then you make an
Mhm.
armored tank with a jet engine strapped to the back.
Don't
Pretty,
give them any ideas. Don't give them any ideas.
they're going to
Don't
do
give
it
the fast.
anyways.
Don't give the Fast and Furious any ideas about that.
But then you
Uh,
cross it with like Pristine and Road Warrior, and then that's your love child of a car. I got
mhm.
the vibe of Knight Rider too.
Of course. Hello. The ramp coming out of the
No,
flames.
not even the
That's
ramp. When the car first turned on and everybody just stopped shooting and they're just staring at the headlights, and then you see the engine
oh
compartment light
yeah.
up like the Knight Rider almost
Vroom,
kind
vroom,
of. It doesn't do
vroom,
that. It just
vroom.
lights up into the center
Right.
compartment.
No, I
I
know.
was like, "Is it Knight Rider?" And then I realized, oh, he's in the front seat. But it was so intimidating because he's just pretty much you don't see him, but his silhouette, and he just
No,
like
I
flexes the car, and everybody starts moving.
yeah, he did like a fake, like a pump fake.
Yeah.
Even though it was a great scene, I was like, they're in the rain. It is pouring. No one is drifting. No one is sliding, even though they're going like
Oh,
50
his
to
car
80
slid
miles per
out.
hour. I mean, talking about losing control.
Oh yeah. Like
No one lost control.
Penguin's
I
car
was like,
kept controls super well.
I know. And I was like, how is this? I can understand it's on dry road, but they're like doing this on wet road.
The highway.
I mean, granted, on Tim Burton's thing where he's going fast and to make a turn, he shoots out a grappling gun to hit a pole to
Mhm.
help him turn because he's going really fast in narrow streets. But we didn't see that here, and he just turning and no problem. I was like,
Well, no, there were
okay,
some wide turns they did, like when he did that first wide turn, and then he just hit the rail and came back behind Penguin. Like when Penguin thought he
right.
lost him, so you could tell
But
there were
yeah, but
moments.
still, even though this movie was pretty damn close to reality in a sense of action, that, in my opinion, was taken out of reality because on red roads going that fast, you can't make turns
True.
like that.
But the
That
great thing
well.
about it is like you could see like both perspectives, Penguin's perspective and Batman's perspective, which was Batman was
Mm-hmm.
like you could see a slight moment of panic when all the trucks are hitting, and he's like kind of
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure things out, and then the one truck just like grace of God, plot armor falls in line where he could just hits it and he ramps up on that. But then the
Mm-hmm.
Penguin on his perspective, he's like, I got you, you bastard, and then I was like, he sees that car go through, and you see the look on his face like
Oh
I
yeah.
just saw this Hellblazer car just come out, and then Batman does the slow walk, and you see he's kind of terrified, but at the same time, like
He's
bewildered at the same
impressed.
time. At the same time, he's like,
He's
"Holy,
impressed.
like this guy, what is he?"
At the same token, that kind of reminded me of Halloween in the sense of after the accident, Batman's walking towards the penguin,
Oh, the long
and he
Halloween,
just
yeah.
no, talking about Halloween, like Michael Myers.
Oh, this, yeah.
Where
Okay, I get what you're mean.
when he's walking slow to the car, he's just walking, and the guy is stuck. He's just watching, and then Batman kneels down and just looks at him.
You
And I
know
was like,
what?
that's kind of Michael Myers.
That's a great call out because like even in the comics, like you don't see Batman really run, not in front of his other villains or whatnot. He'll chase him like from the rooftops or not whatnot, but you don't really see
Mm-hmm,
him run. Like he does a lot of psychological stuff. So like when he first
mm-hmm.
introduced the character and any of the other scenes, like unless it's the intense fight scene, he doesn't chase anybody down. He just walks to those characters or walks from one
Or
area to
he
the other.
uses the grappling gun.
Exactly.
Oh, talking about gadgets. Sorry. Was the flying squirrel
Dude,
pretty
yes.
badass or what?
Yes, it was. At first, I thought he was going to do the whole Batwing thing, and but then he
Right.
went
I
into the
thought so
flying
too.
squirrel, which made sense. And then I know I felt I was watching it, and as soon as it happened, I'm like, this was the scene that my brother's going to go, oh, because like the bus and the overpass.
Oh, the crash he took.
Yeah, like because he did a flying squirrel suit, and then he was gonna try to land on the bus, pulls his
Mm-hmm.
chute, and he hits the overpass, and he does like this whole swing maneuver into a lamp, and then hits the ground hard.
And that goes to show where, again, the inexperience.
He's still learning, and
He's
like
still learning.
even when before he did the suit, he was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, because yeah, remember because he got the edge. He was like, oh my god, like what to do. He had that look in his face, like either he was afraid of heights or he's at the end of his rope. Granted, he fixed it up. Yeah, I think that was his cape. That he
It,
because he came off and there was no cape. So
it was his cape. It's just like
then,
just trippy way of how his cape wraps around him.
yeah, because he leaves without a cape, and then he shows up again to meet Selena with a cape. I was like, what? Okay.
Always carry a spare.
Also that, which was also great. So he's out patrolling as Bruce Wayne.
Everything's in his backpack.
I was like, okay, he changes real quick when he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I don't know how it stays all dry with all that freaking rain. Again, how a beginner will do without having the resources yet, that not to have like in other stories, other incarnations. There's a warehouse here or an office there where he can Bruce can just go to change, or in a car and he just hits a button and then
or he uses the
changes it.
subway system or the sewer system as a method of commuting, and that's why he can go from point A to point B and no one knows where he's at.
I did like that with him with the bike. He goes underground to find okay where his parents or his family were the founders of that subway system.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what. Yeah, I do have one part I didn't like, but
it can't be the nanny. The nanny was a callback to like the Adam
oh,
West Batman.
yeah, I know. That's what I meant to say that too earlier. No, it's not her. Because at first I was like, what the? Why is she? How's her girl? Huh? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute.
She was like the one that no one knew, that she never knew.
Right.
You live in the same house. How do you not know?
Oh, and that they paid homage to that. I forgot also. They had the bust.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of homages, a lot of tributes,
or Easter eggs, if you
Easter
will.
Eggs.
No, I know. I freaked out. And Kim was like, "What? What do you see?" I was like, "No, it's the bust." Right. That's what I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out to have the same bust. Oh, and says, "What did you see?" Dude, that was a pure horror moment when the Riddler shows up behind the mayor.
Yo, and that's when I was like, I was watching this. I'm like, oh, and I know there's kids in this audience because that was
Freaky.
It wasn't gory, but it was extremely creepy. And like we said, it was like there was some like homage moments to like the Seven and whatnot. And it was more brutal because like he hits the guy and then like he literally yells as he's beating the mayor down, and they just focus on him being beaten, and then you see the bloody weapon, and you see the mayor's head with the injury.
Yes,
you do see some stuff, like even the hand with after it was severed thumb. Like, so there are moments in there that like
I did not think I would like Martinez, but I did like him, and he was a pivotal character to help figure out what that tool was.
Yes, I felt like Martinez was the guy version of Montoya.
Or Ramirez.
There's a lot of Spanish characters in Batman now that I'm thinking about it.
Right, but the trilogy those Ramirez, right, Montoya.
Montoya was the cartoon.
But here, where he's like the average guy who comes from a family of wealth, something like that, he would not really was used for.
Come on, like I like to think of myself as an average person. I would have. I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's a tool of some kind. I thought it was like a small kid shovel. I didn't know it was like for carpentry.
I'll give you that. But yeah, he was there at the right time, right moment to help Batman solve the crime or solve a pivotal moment. The moment I didn't like, or the only thing I had a little gripe with, well, for one, it was 3 hours long. Probably some editing could have happened there. But they kept going with a flying rodent, flying rat. So it was like going over and over. Granted, I understand it's like a reminder to him. He's the flying rodent is him. It's a bat. But they're talking about Falcone. It was just
it's the one riddle
it felt
wasn't
repetitive.
Getting.
Maybe so, but it was just repetitive. It was just like, but I understand, I get it. But if that's the only gripe,
you're happy with
pretty good,
it,
right? Yeah. Do you have a moment that you're like, that was it Selena?
She surprised me. I thought I was gonna not like Selena. I'm not familiar with Zoe Kravitz, as a performer.
Well, she was Angel in X-Men First Class,
which was not much of a role.
That was her, I think, her only other superhero related.
Well, and that's the thing. Like she probably has done other stuff. It's just that.
Oh yeah, she's done.
I am. She was in Mad Max, the Fury Road. Her roles to me were not memorable, and nothing against her.
I see what you're saying.
And
this is our first.
That's major. I give that to like the stories and like that she was in, because you could be a side character in a movie and still be memorable. Here, I'm like, wow, she did a great Catwoman, in my opinion. Blew Halle Berry out the water without question.
I think she is second best to Michelle Pfeiffer, in my opinion.
Nolan's Catwoman was like more grounded. it's bugging me, but I forget her name that was portraying it.
Anne
Then
Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, and I was like, okay, but then Zoe Kravitz come in, and I'm like, okay, I can see this will be like the starting point for her Catwoman. I like the fact that at first I was like, what's with the nails? And I've seen the nails like that. And I'm like, how can she effectively do anything? And like, it was the simplest solution. She cut slits in her gloves,
Weapons, yeah.
and which really wasn't meant to be weapons, but she just does it because she likes the style. And crisp kicks.
Oh, her kick. Oh my God.
I was like, did you do taekwondo? She got beautiful.
Someone
kicks.
did. Goes to like pop, 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 like almost like
Exactly.
punches.
And, arguably, she's the best fighter of the Catwomans I've seen of all the Catwoman portrayals.
And I like
she had the
that.
whip, and like she was intelligent.
Yes, the whip thing was cool when she climbed down. Oh, her descent.
Yeah.
When she first, I was like, oh, I like how she's doing that. I like how she's coming down. Goes just an angle and just like she had one hand atop, one hand down, and just sliding. I was like, all right, this girl knows what she's doing. And then she just tuggles the thing like Indiana Jones does with his whip.
I was surprised and I was impressed by her. So much credit to her. I'm trying to think of what I didn't like in regards to the movie, other than time. But I think time was needed for this movie. Like it couldn't have been split into two movies.
No, but I think it could. Some parts could have been cut down.
I mean,
in
but
my opinion,
it still would have been like over 2 hours, in my opinion.
That's fine. It's better than 3.
This is true. The movie kept my attention.
And I will agree with that. But I do feel that some things could have just made it a little tighter. These are just minor things.
Okay.
I mean, to me, I think, I will not say this is the best Batman, but this is damn solid one.
Now that I'm thinking about it, one thing I was not a fan of is how the Riddler incorporated a Riddler army, because I felt like it was been done before. You know, you have it from Joker, you have it from like, you know, a lot of.
You have that. You have it from the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
It leads to great cinematics and great scenes and great moments. But honestly, it did not need to go all the way to that point.
Well, I just felt also it made no sense that you have a following of a little over than 500 followers. People ready to kill for him. You would think he would have a lot more followers. When you have a lot more followers, then it's more plausible, in my opinion anyway, that you have some extremists. But it seemed like he had 500 followers who were pretty much all extreme.
Well, it wasn't like 500 people in there in the stadium. It was like really like maybe 20 people in the stadium. I mean, that's a large percentage.
You would think a lot more people will be following him on social media.
But it wasn't general social media. It didn't look like Twitch.
The dark web? Like the dark web?
Maybe like a dark web kind of thing, because it looked pretty dank. I mean,
and how come the guy that he beat up almost looked like the guy that's in jail?
It was the guy from the funeral.
That was him?
That was the same guy. When he said, you know, I'm vengeance.
Oh, because his face was, I couldn't.
Because he got his ass swollen.
I gotta watch it again because I totally thought the guy looked.
But he was wearing the glasses were like half cocked because everybody was wearing the same glasses, so they were all wearing the same outfit, and his hair was slicked back because he had tape on his hair.
Let's do a couple reviews. So for those who are new or just joining us, we've had one way to review our shows and films, and now just take a little more because with all the streaming services and available to us, you don't have to buy these films. You can watch it or you don't have to watch it. I think it's safe to say that we both like this film. Now, is it worth watching?
I would say yes.
Or is it a waste of time? Okay. Is it worth your money? Meaning, comes out on Blu-ray. Would you get it?
For me, yes.
I second that. It is worth your time. It is worth your money. Be it in theaters or own it.
I would say it's worth
this
4K.
Is definitely. Another review. Out of all the Batman incarnations of live action,
oh shit,
where does Robert Pattinson fit in your opinion?
And I did think about this. And I thought very hard. Nostalgia, and personally, I would say Michael Keaton's always going to be at the top. But if I'm being technical and truest to the character, Robert Pattinson's number one. Because if I'm thinking about like the comics, cartoon, and whatnot, and I want to be like, I feel like I want the truest Batman at this moment, I'm going to watch Robert Pattinson. But nostalgia is always going to win.
I am with you. I find it is Michael Keaton because he's the one that showed us. He doesn't have to be campy.
I mean, it was a little bit campy at times, but it was in a good way.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't think it was campy. What was campy was the Joker or the Penguin or Catwoman in that aspect, over the top, where he was the straight man, which is weird because he's a comedian, Michael Keaton,
Although
Yeah,
the two scenes that come to mind I remember is one when the girl wakes up and she sees him hanging upside down like a bat.
Kim Basinger. Yeah,
Yeah, and then two when Jack Nicholson shows up and he like when they're on a date and he goes,
want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
I remember that scene. I'm like, okay, like it was way out of the blue. Like I'm like, what the heck is this? And then it was just one of the reasons why I'm like, that's a little bit campy, but it's fun.
The bat thing, I think, what hanging upside down, I think that was more of Tim Burton's wanted
True.
that shot because it wasn't really needed.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Wasn't
things
needed.
that weren't needed, but they were great.
Granted, in that film itself, there are so many mistakes or blunders that it doesn't make sense or why it would be that way. But we can do a review on that another time. For me, it'll be Michael Keaton, always first.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have Robert Pattinson right underneath right now. And then you have Christian Bale.
What about Adam West or
Adam West after Christian Bale. Then you have Val Kilmer.
I forgot about these guys. George Clooney,
Ben
Val
Affleck,
Kilmer,
and George Clooney. George Clooney, I'm sorry, is the worst.
and you know what? I actually like Ben Affleck over Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and actually over Adam West for me.
Well, the reason why I like Adam West, I put him higher, is because he is nostalgia, and he's not the first one to do live action. We'll be honest. There's black and whites way before. I haven't had a chance to see those.
Neither
but
have I.
That Batman was a killer. Oh, did Batman in this one kill anyone?
As much as like they're like, and they did a reference like, "Oh, you don't use guns. That's your thing." Gordon says that. I'm watching those fight scenes, like that hallway scene where everybody's shooting, or like even the opening scene with all the anarchists and there's gunfire beyond there. I'm like, you can't tell me not one person didn't get a ricochet or like get a random shot. The hallway scene for Falcone, definitely someone got shot.
Well, the bullets did bounce off his armor. And then people were taken down from that.
And then even when he was like moving people around, they were still shooting.
But did he like directly kill them? Keaton has directly killed villains. Oh yeah, Affleck. Also, Christian Bale's character has killed. But I would not say he did. He broken bones. He gave people headaches. He concussed them.
I will say we will have to rewatch this really closely, watching those fight scenes. Because going back in my mind, I would say intentionally, no, I don't think he's killed anybody. If anybody died, it was like through someone else's actions or something like that. Which makes him more factual to the Batman character in the comics and even the cartoons than even Michael Keaton, like even any of the others. Because like you said, every other Batman, except for Adam West, has literally killed. But for movies, that is, they definitely killed all the other villains or like even side characters, where here they didn't. Clearly, there was some living guys.
They shot each other. Like he'll move out of the way and they'll shoot each other like from either end. That has happened. But yeah, I don't remember him because he'd literally stop people from if he could.
Like Michael Keaton's character literally like burned a guy at his kneecaps with his like jet engine.
He blew up the factory in the first one.
He blew up a factory.
He blew up the factory. There was a guy people were there.
There was a guy he blew up in the first one too, like with grenades.
That's the second one. He puts a bomb in his shorts and it hits him in the head, and the guy falls. And
there was someone else that died too, but like,
well, there was several.
There were several.
Well, he took a guy down remember in the church or cathedral?
Yeah.
He grabbed someone in the legs by the head and then pushed him down the bell tower.
And then like everybody agrees about Ben Affleck.
The Joker. He killed the Joker.
And then like all the cannon fodder villains and like George Clooney and Val Kilmer, they all died, including the main villains, except for like Riddler and Frost.
Right, he did kill Two-Face.
Ben Affleck certainly killed all
the warehouse scene. There was some necks broken in that one.
Yeah.
And he killed the KGB beast. AG Beast.
And Christian Bale definitely killed several.
He definitely didn't save Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, but
he says, I don't have to kill you, save you either.
But let's be honest, that's still killing.
I know.
At most, it's just like second degree murder.
He just leaves the train and the guy just crashes. So yeah, of course. Even his daughter said it. She came back for revenge.
He's like,
in the third film.
He didn't even try to argue that. He's like, technically, I didn't kill your daddy. She would have called him out and be like, that's a bullshit answer. But yeah, so Christian Bale definitely, in all three movies, he definitely killed characters. And then Ben Affleck, he absolutely destroyed characters. I like
Well, that was given too. It was like in reports and news articles and things of that nature
when
they
he
were
was
saying.
rescuing Martha in the factory,
Yeah.
and also the car chase scene with the trying to get the kryptonite. He was
Yes.
like with the Gatling guns on the. He definitely killed a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. Now, granted, it was all part of the scripts and everything for them. That's just what those people were working with. But this was the truest to Batman because from off of first viewing, maybe someone might be concussed or maybe paralyzed a little bit, but no
Mm-hmm.
one's dead.
Right. Well, they're probably dead, but not by his direct action.
Yeah, I will say this.
Um,
Is a little bit side off track. It's just I had to laugh about this. The end scene with all the Riddlers, they all have rifles. But then in my mind, I'm like, there's always that one guy who wants to be part of the group. Like either A, they didn't get the memo, or B, they didn't save up enough to get the same
mhm.
thing so they can be all along with everybody else. Because he was the one guy that had a shotgun where everybody else is like, what caliber, what kind of thing. They all had the same kind of rifle. And he's like, hey guys. And they're like, I feel like at the group meeting, everybody would be like,
We had that. We was that one guy with the shotgun.
that's why I'm saying, that's why I'm calling him
Oh,
out.
okay.
Because everybody
Yeah,
couldn't
because
do anything against the armor. The one guy with the shotgun is like, hey, I got him. I got the shotgun.
I
Everybody
took
would like,
down the bat.
exactly.
I have to give applause to also on the costume design. Our first time ever that we see his emblem being of use, his bat signal, his bat emblem of use. It was used to cut the police tape. It was used to cut live wire. I probably can be used as a batarang and another one. But
He
it could,
held it like a
because we,
batarang when he cut that live
yes,
wire.
he did. But it was also when he cut the tape, I thought that was ingenious. People thought first it was like the gun that killed his parents.
Which it kind of did look like a gun.
What the handles did. It could be the gun, even though we found out who the real killer was. So how would they get the gun?
Still suspected.
I thought that was genius. Again, they're not high in the fact where he puts on the eye makeup, where in the other films, the person has it and then takes off the mask and just clean. Just like you say with James Bond, who goes through like a 6-story fall and both still sharp as hell. Makes it more realistic. Part of the costume is part of the attire. All right. Anything else? Because we've talked a while.
Yeah, we did. I would say this was a fantastic movie. I will dare say it is arguably the best DC movie I've seen since Wonder Woman. Talking about the first one, everybody. I'm going to stand corrected. Joker was another one. This one got me again.
But do you notice that there's only one DCEU movie that you just expressed? The Joker's not, and this one's not.
Well,
maybe it will be. Maybe it will be.
After the whole...
Maybe there will be when the Flash comes out. So we'll see what happens there. That's something to think about. So far that we know, the Batmans are coming as Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. They're reprising their role. And also that Batman, or Michael Keaton Batman, is in the new Batgirl film. But if Robert Pattinson makes an appearance here, we won't know until we know. Probably not. Oh, what do you think about the end credit?
I thought it was cute. And a lot of people were pissed about that. But I mean, the end credit scene is actually... It's kind of like a hook.
I think it's a joke on us.
It's a little bit of a joke on us. But I feel like...
That's how I took it.
The way I took it is like, the Riddler's they're not done with the Riddler.
But I just think that they said that in a way because it comes out goodbye, because some of us sat there just to see. And that was a confirmation, like you just stayed here for nothing. Goodbye. And so I'll say I appreciate that more than Hawkeye's end credit scene.
I know.
Okay, guys, that is it for us. Hope you enjoy this. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. If you have seen The Batman, please write down in the comment below, what was your favorite scene? What was your favorite character? Let us know. Until next time, will be the next time. I am Angel.
I'm Adon.
Love you, bro.
Love you.